I've stolen from private vaults, secure compounds, and one Saudi prince's yacht off the coast of Monaco. But the only job that ever felt like art was stealing from a place full of it. The job came through a collector named Darien Wolf, an old money parasite with a gallery of stolen things and no conscience to go with it. He found me in Prague, bought me a drink, never said his name, just slid a photo across the bar. A painting. Feminine Circle, by Jules de Vrieux. Oil on canvas. 1874. Estimated worth $2.3 million. One painting, he said. In and out. 7 minutes. I didn't answer right away. He leaned in. They call it the lockbox. It hangs in Galerie Lamont in Paris. Private wing. Rotation exhibit. But it's not just the painting. The whole system goes dark for 7 minutes every Thursday at 2:17 a.m. Scheduled maintenance? I asked. He smiled. Scheduled opportunity. I knew the gallery. Galerie Lamont was a private museum disguised as a public one. On the surface, it looked like any high-end European art space, minimalist, tasteful, filled with too much silence and too little honesty. But beneath the marble and mood lighting was one of the most advanced security systems in France. Silent motion grids, AI-based visitor tracking, drone sweeps, floor pressure calibration tied to humidity sensors. It was built to stop people like me. But I wasn't interested in stopping. I spent 3 weeks planning. Step 1. Build a replica of the painting. The art world is obsessed with provenance. But for a man like Wolf, all that mattered was how it looked behind glass. I had it copied stroke for stroke by a guy in Marrakesh who owed me 3 favors and half a lum. Step 2. Study the 7-minute blackout. Wolf was right. Every Thursday, 2:17 to 2:24 a.m., the gallery's internal systems would reroute through an off-site server. Most likely a software patch, probably harmless. But the power never dropped. Only the sensors did. Which meant the building was still running. The cameras weren't. That gave me options. Dangerous ones. Step 3. Get in. The night of the job, I arrived dressed as a janitor for the building across the street. No one notices janitors. Especially not at 2 a.m. I crossed the street through the sublevel delivery tunnel, clipped the security panel with a frequency scrambler, and stepped into the service corridor at 2:15. At 2:17, the system went dark. And the game began. I wasn't supposed to take more than the painting. That was the deal. But when I walked past Salle 6, something caught my eye. A panel. Glass display. Inside, 5 minor works by Valentine Glyer, a lost surrealist painter whose estate had been silent since the 60s. But here's the thing. They weren't in the museum's inventory. Weren't insured. Weren't supposed to exist. I checked the timestamps. The security loop had given me exactly 6 minutes and 48 seconds left. That's when the thought hit me. Why take one painting when I could take the whole damn room? I didn't hesitate. The second I saw the Glyer collection, I knew the score had changed. Not just the job, the value, the power, the leverage. This wasn't just a rogue display. These pieces weren't registered. They weren't insured. That meant they weren't protected, legally or otherwise. In my world, that's not just a green light. That's a gold rush. I made the swap on. Feminine Circle. First. Quick, smooth. The replica slid in like it had always been there. Even up close, No one would notice, at least not for a while. Then I moved to Sal 6. The Glire paintings were smaller, easier to transport. But the casing was tighter, no alarm, but the display was sealed with a passive magnetic lock. I used a thermal cutter the size of a fountain pen, ran it along the frame, slow and steady. 2 minutes tops. By 2:21, I had 3 of the 5 canvases rolled and secured in a carbon fiber tube under my jacket. The 4th was halfway out when I heard it. Footsteps. Soft, but deliberate. Not random. Not patrol. Someone was in the gallery who wasn't supposed to be. I moved fast. Didn't finish the 4th. Didn't risk the 5th. I sealed the display, wiped the glass, and stepped into a side corridor that connected to the maintenance stairwell. I'd scoped the route days before, unmonitored, tight, designed for staff but rarely used. The footsteps were getting closer. Then they stopped. I waited. 5 seconds. 10. 15. Then a voice, low, male, calm. That wasn't part of the deal. I didn't answer. You weren't supposed to touch Sal 6. Still no answer. Then he said something that froze me solid. We needed you to take the DeVries. That's all. That was the distraction. My blood went cold. Because in that moment I realized I wasn't stealing for Wolf. I was working for someone else's misdirection. I slipped out. Didn't respond. Didn't breathe. Just kept moving until I reached the exterior tunnel. By 2:24, the system rebooted. Cameras came online. Sensors reactivated. And I was already gone. I didn't go to the drop point. I went to an old friend in Antwerp, a man who used to fence for Interpol before switching sides. He ran the Glire canvases under UV, X-ray, and spectrum. His verdict? These weren't just missing. They were never supposed to be seen. Under one of the canvases, embedded behind the paint, was a second layer. A blueprint. Detailed. Military grade. With coordinates I didn't recognize. And stamped in red across the bottom. Property of Direction Générale de la Sécurité Extérieure. DGSE, French Foreign Intelligence Service. That's when I knew. This wasn't a heist. It was an operation. And I'd just stolen the evidence. By the time I figured out who really owned those paintings, it was already too late. I wasn't holding stolen art. I was holding secrets. Government secrets. And not just any government. France's Directorate General for External Security. Their version of the CIA. The kind of people who don't knock, don't threaten, and don't leave loose ends breathing. Which meant I had 2 choices. 1. Burn the canvases, ditch the name, and disappear forever. 2. Dig deeper. And because I'm either arrogant or stupid, maybe both, I chose the second. The coordinates hidden beneath the Glire canvas pointed to a remote storage facility near Ain Sefra, Algeria. No name. No paperwork. Just a code-locked door under a fake mining company. I sent a contact, someone local I trusted. He never came back. 2 days later, I got an envelope with his watch in it. Nothing else. It was a message. Back off. So I ran. From safe house to safe house. City to city. Antwerp. Munich. Zagreb. Everywhere I went, I felt it. The shadow. Not surveillance. Not obvious. But doors I hadn't opened would be unlocked. Laptops warm when they shouldn't be. mail arriving with no return address. And once, just once, I found a postcard in my coat pocket. Blank. Except for one line. "We see everything." That's when I knew this wasn't about the art anymore. Someone had planted that painting in Gallery Lamont. The whole blackout window, the 7-minute gap Wolf told me about. Manufactured. By them. To use me. I wasn't hired to steal. I was hired to smuggle classified intel out of France, without even knowing I had it. Because if I got caught, I'd be just another thief. A ghost with no country and no credibility. Perfect deniability. But they made one mistake. They underestimated how deep I go once I know I've been played. I called Wolf. Burner phone. Mast signal? Voice disguised. He answered on the second ring. I didn't speak. Just let him breathe. He knew. If you're smart, he said, you'll destroy everything. Walk away. That intel is worth more than your life. More than mine. Then why send me? I asked. Because you don't matter, he said. You never did. He hung up. That was the last time I heard his voice. But not the last time I saw his face. People like Wolf don't run. They hide in plain sight, behind art auctions, foundations, and museum galas filled with diplomats pretending they don't launder blood money. And that's where I found him. Budapest. Charity exhibit. He was posing as an art restoration donor. Smiling for cameras. Giving handshakes with gloves on. But I wasn't there to shake hands. I was there to bury a secret, one that wasn't mine to carry anymore. I walked in clean. Security didn't blink. I was dressed better than the donors. In my jacket was a drive. Encrypted. Loaded with every file hidden in the paintings. The blueprint. The intel. The transfer logs. The facility in Algeria. Even Wolf's voice. Recorded from our last call. I handed it off to a woman from a Nordic press agency. She didn't know my name. Only that when the drive unlocked, she'd have something that would break 3 governments in half. Then I walked up to Wolf. He saw me too late. His smile dropped just slightly. A half-second of fear under polished charm. I thought you were dead, he said softly. You hoped I was. You're making a mistake. No, I said. You did. When you picked me, I didn't kill him. That's not how this ends. People like Wolf don't die in alleys or go out with bangs. They rot slowly, in exile, scandal, betrayal. That's how you hurt ghosts like him. You make them visible. The fallout came fast. 3 weeks after the gala, DGSE issued an internal statement denying knowledge of any art-linked intelligence recovery program. That same week, the Ain Sefra facility burned to the ground. No reports. No footage. Just flames. The story went viral. The journalist who ran it, dead 5 days later. Apparent overdose. No autopsy released. But the world had already seen enough. As for me, I don't steal anymore. Not because I'm clean. Because now I know what they put behind glass and call art is sometimes something far more dangerous. Secrets have weight. More than gold. More than canvas. And when you carry them too long, they don't just kill you. They erase you. That's why I still keep one of the Glyer paintings. Not for the money. Not for the brushstrokes. But for the scar behind the color. The reminder of what I was never meant to see. and what I'll never be able to forget.